Before starting the story, write in the comment section which country you belong to. The kingdom of Lyonesse lay in a quiet corner of Europe, surrounded by dense forests and silver rivers that reflected the golden sunlight. In the castle of King Khayr-Din, life moved with measured rhythm, the clang of swords in the training yard and the laughter of children echoing through stone corridors. Among the royal family, one figure often went unnoticed, though her presence was quietly compelling: Khayr-Din's sister, Lady Aloan. She was known for her grace, her gentle smile, and the way her eyes seemed to see the soul of anyone who spoke to her. One day, as the market towns along the river buzzed with activity, news arrived of a knight traveling through the lands, a man of noble heart and unmatched skill. His name was Tristan, a young knight of Cornish origin whose exploits in distant lands had made him a figure both admired and mysterious. He had come seeking counsel from King Khayr-Din, hoping to forge an alliance against growing threats in the north. Tristan arrived at the castle gates just as the sun dipped low, painting the stone walls with warm hues. He was tall, with hair the color of chestnut and eyes that carried both determination and a quiet sorrow. But it was not his fame nor his noble bearing that first captured Eloan's attention. It was the subtle air of loneliness he carried, as if his heart was a traveler lost between two worlds. That evening, at a feast held in his honor, Tristan found himself seated opposite Eloan. She offered a polite smile, her hands folded lightly in her lap, and spoke with a voice that was both soft and confident. "I hope your journey was not too trying, Sir Tristan. The roads have been treacherous this season." Tristan bowed slightly. "The roads may test the body, Lady Eloan," he replied, "but the heart guides the traveler through even the most difficult paths." His words lingered, and though he did not fully understand why, he felt a sudden warmth in her gaze. It was a feeling he had not expected, a quiet connection, fragile yet undeniable. Throughout the evening, they exchanged small talk, yet each word carried unspoken depth. Tristan spoke of the lands he had seen, of forests deep and rivers wide, and of battles fought not only with sword, but with loyalty and honor. Eloan listened intently, her curiosity piqued not by tales of glory, but by the man who spoke them with a hint of sadness beneath the pride. Later, as the candles flickered and the hall emptied, Tristan found himself wandering the castle gardens. The scent of night-blooming flowers filled the air, and the stars overhead shone like scattered diamonds. There he found Eloan, alone, walking quietly among the rose bushes. She turned, startled at first, but smiled when she saw it was him. "You enjoy the quiet too?" she asked softly. Tristan nodded. "It is the only time the heart can speak freely," he said, his voice low but sincere. "Amid the noise of courts and clashing swords, one forgets the quiet pleasures of the world." Eloan's smile deepened, and she stepped closer. "Then perhaps you and I have more in common than either of us realized," she said. For a moment, the castle, the feasts, the distant wars, everything faded away, leaving only the two of them beneath the canopy of stars. Yet, under the gentle warmth of that first encounter, both felt a subtle tension, a hint of danger that came from the unspoken realities of their lives. Tristan's heart belonged to his duty, his loyalty ever bound to the kingdom he served, and the adventures he had yet to face. Eloan, too, carried her own obligations, her role as a sister, a noblewoman, and a keeper of family honor. They were drawn together by invisible threads of curiosity and longing, yet both knew that the path ahead would be far from simple. As Tristan left the gardens that night, he glanced back at Eloan, and in that brief moment, something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of hearts stirred, yet a warning that such emotions could be dangerous if allowed to bloom too freely. He would carry that image of her with him, a quiet light in the darkness of his journeys to come. And so began the delicate dance of Tristan and Lady Eloan, a meeting that would shape the days and months ahead, stirring emotions that neither could fully name, yet both would come to feel with the quiet, aching intensity. Days passed in the castle of Lyonesse, and Tristan's presence became a constant rhythm in its halls. The king, his sister, and the knights often gathered to discuss matters of strategy, yet Tristan found his attention repeatedly drawn to Lady Eowyn. She was always near, tending to her duties, her delicate hands weaving through tasks with elegance, yet her eyes often lifted to meet his, carrying a quiet curiosity. Eowyn felt the same pull, a magnetic yet cautious attraction. She admired Tristan not only for his skill and courage, but for the gentle melancholy in his voice, a man weighed down by duty, yet yearning for something more. Though her brother had always warned her against being entangled with wandering knights, she could not ignore the way Tristan made her heart flutter, a sensation both thrilling and frightening. One afternoon, Tristan and Eowyn met in the castle library, a vast room filled with ancient tomes, their spines lined like guardians of history. Tristan had come to study the maps of neighboring lands, preparing for the threats looming on the horizon. Eowyn, curious about his travels, lingered beside him, asking questions and offering insights. "It must be lonely," she said softly, "to travel so far from home, carrying the weight of duty and expectation." Tristan looked up, surprised at the perception in her words. "It is," he admitted, "but it is also necessary. A knight must act not for himself, but for the people he protects. Even when the heart aches, the duty remains." Eowyn hesitated, then whispered, "But does the heart not deserve its own protection, its own chance for joy?" Tristan's gaze met hers, intense and searching. For a moment the world outside the library, the plans, the alliances, the looming dangers seemed to disappear. All that remained was the soft, fragile connection between them. Yet he could not ignore the truth. He was bound by honor and she by family loyalty. To act on their emotions would be perilous. Despite these warnings, their friendship deepened. They shared quiet walks in the gardens, spoke of childhood memories, and exchanged confidences that revealed their vulnerabilities. One evening, as the sun set behind the distant hills, Tristan found himself beside Eowyn at a secluded fountain. Water trickled softly, mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. "Lady Eowyn," Tristan said quietly, "I have never met anyone who understands both the weight and the beauty of duty like you do." She looked down, her fingers tracing the rim of the fountain. "And I have never met anyone whose heart carries both strength and sorrow so openly. It is comforting, though it also frightens me." "Because it feels forbidden?" Tristan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Eowyn nodded. "We are bound by obligations that must not be broken. Yet," she lifted her gaze to meet his, "yet I cannot help the way my heart listens to you." They stood in silence, the world around them muted, their connection growing, even as the shadow of duty reminded them of what could not yet be. They were two hearts drawn together by invisible threads, knowing the path ahead would be both beautiful and painful. News of unrest in the Northern Territories forced Tristan to prepare for departure. A rising threat demanded his attention, leaving little time for the budding connection he shared with Eowyn. The weight of impending battle pressed heavily on him, yet the thought of leaving Lyonesse filled him with sorrow. Eowyn felt the same anguish. Though her brother's counsel had always kept her cautious, she could not deny the emptiness she felt at the thought of Tristan's absence. Their stolen moments, quiet walks, shared confidences, and lingering glances had come to mean more to her than she could express. The night before Tristan's departure, the castle was quiet. Eloin found him in the gardens once more, where moonlight danced upon the fountains. She hesitated, then stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "Tristan, when you leave, what becomes of us?" Tristan reached for her hand, a gesture gentle yet filled with longing. "I do not know," he admitted. "My path is not my own, yet my heart will carry the memory of you wherever I go." Eloin's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and mine yours. But, she swallowed hard, but I fear that we are like two stars whose paths cross only briefly, destined to shine apart. Tristan took a deep breath, his gaze steady yet filled with emotion. "Then let us treasure what we have, however brief it may be," he said. "Let these moments be our secret, carried in silence until fate allows us another chance." As dawn broke, Tristan mounted his horse, and Eloin stood at the gates, watching him ride away. She felt the ache of longing and the sharp sting of helplessness, yet she knew their bond had deepened into something neither time nor distance could erase. Months passed, with letters exchanged in secret. Tristan wrote of battles, of victories and losses, and of the quiet nights when his thoughts wandered back to Lyonesse. Eloin replied with words of encouragement, wisdom, and subtle longing. Each letter was a lifeline, a whisper of hearts intertwined despite the miles and dangers that separated them. But the world was not kind to lovers bound by duty. Rumors began to stir in the castle, and both Tristan and Eloin felt the pressure of family, expectation, and the ever-watchful eyes of those who would see them divided. Each longing glance, each unspoken word, carried with it the weight of potential heartbreak. The northern wars had ended, but not without cost. Tristan returned to Lyonesse, weary from battle, his spirit burdened by losses he could not forget. The castle gates seemed smaller, the corridors narrower, yet in the quiet of the gardens, Eloin waited. Their reunion was tender, filled with unspoken words and lingering glances. For a moment, it felt as though nothing else mattered. The wars, the obligations, the whispers of the world outside. But reality could not be ignored. Coherdin, aware of the bond between his sister and Tristan, approached them. His voice was measured, neither angry nor approving, but firm. "Tristan," he said, "your loyalty to this kingdom is known. Yet your heart must not disrupt the path set before Lady Eloin. She has duties that transcend personal desire." Tristan bowed. "Your honor is my guiding light, my king. Yet my heart, I cannot deny what it feels for her." Eloin stepped forward, her voice steady, though her heart trembled. "Brother, Tristan has shown me a world beyond duty, a world of understanding and quiet love. I cannot ignore it, though I know the risks." Coherdin sighed, torn between duty and understanding. "Then the choice is yours, Eloin. Follow your heart, but know the road will not be easy. Your love, if true, will be tested by trials and sacrifice." In the days that followed, Tristan and Eloin found solace in each other, learning that love was not always about grand gestures, but quiet endurance. They spoke of futures, of hopes, of a bond strong enough to survive the whispers of court and the challenges of the world beyond. Though hardships remained, their hearts had chosen each other. They understood that love required patience, courage, and unwavering commitment, yet it was the most precious treasure they could ever hope to find. And in the quiet moments beneath the moonlit skies, in letters exchanged and promises whispered, they discovered that longing could transform into devotion, and heartbreak could give way to a love that endured.
Tristan and Lady Eloin, bound by honor and heart alike, faced the world together, not as fleeting stars, but as steadfast lights that would guide each other through the storms ahead.